People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. For centuries, these dark-winged messengers have been entwined with the shadows of death, seen as omens and guides between the worlds of the living and the dead. In The Crow, this ancient myth breathes life into Eric Draven, a man brought back from the grave by a crow to seek vengeance for his lost love. But what is it about the crow that has woven itself so deeply into our fears and legends? We will delve into the ancient myths behind the film, exploring how the crow and other avian symbols have become eternal harbingers of fate, death, and the mysteries that lie beyond the veil. Birds, with their ability to traverse the skies, have long been perceived as intermediaries between the earthly realm and the afterlife. Among them, crows and ravens stand out, shrouded in mystery and shadow, their black feathers often seen as harbingers of death. In The Crow, this symbolism comes to life as Eric Draven returns from the grave, guided by a crow, a journey that echoes the ancient beliefs shared by cultures across the world. In Norse mythology, Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, were more than mere companions. They were his eyes and ears in the mortal world, gathering knowledge from the land of the living and the dead alike. Hugin, whose name means thought, and Munin, meaning memory, were tasked with flying across the world each day, observing events and reporting back to Odin. These ravens were not just passive observers. Their presence in battle was seen as an omen of death, a signal that Odin was watching and that the souls of the fallen would soon be collected. This dual role of the ravens, as gatherers of knowledge and harbingers of death, underscores their connection to both life and the afterlife, a connection mirrored in The Crow, where the bird serves as both a guide and a witness to the unfolding vengeance. The relationship between Odin and his ravens is deeply symbolic, representing the constant flow of information between the divine and the mortal realms. Hugin and Munin's daily flights remind us that the gods are always watching, always aware of the deeds of men. In the context of The Crow, this idea is reflected in the way the bird seems to oversee Eric Draven's journey, guiding him with an almost omniscient understanding of his path. Just as Odin's ravens bring him the truth of the world, the crow in the film brings Draven the truth of his mission, pushing him towards the inevitable confrontation with his enemies. Moreover, the raven's association with battle and death in Norse mythology is particularly poignant. The Norse believed that warriors who died bravely in battle were chosen by the Valkyries, who would bring them to Valhalla, Odin's hall, where they would prepare for the final battle at Ragnarok. The presence of ravens on the battlefield was a powerful symbol of this transition, marking the passage from life to death, from the mortal world to the divine. This symbolic transition echoes throughout The Crow, where this bird's presence signals the crossing of boundaries, the movement from life to death and back again. In Celtic lore, the Morrigan stands as one of the most powerful and complex figures associated with death and fate. Often depicted as a crow or raven, the Morrigan is a goddess of war, fate and death, whose appearance on the battlefield was seen as a dire omen. She was not just a passive observer of war. The Morrigan was believed to actively influence the outcome of battles, choosing who would live and who would die. In many tales, she appears to warriors before battle, either as a beautiful maiden or an old crone, offering them a choice or foretelling their doom. Her connection to the crow is deeply symbolic, as the bird embodies her ability to move between the worlds of the living and the dead, to influence fate and to bring about the end of life. The Morrigan's association with fate and prophecy also ties her to the broader themes of The Crow. In Celtic tradition, the Morrigan was not just a goddess of death, but also a seer, capable of foretelling the future and influencing the course of events. Her prophecies were often cryptic and foreboding, reflecting the uncertain and often perilous nature of life. This connection to prophecy and fate is echoed in The Crow, where the bird's presence seems to foreshadow the events that unfold, guiding Draven with an almost supernatural sense of purpose and inevitability. Native American traditions also hold the crow in high regard, viewing it as a complex figure that embodies both life and death. Among various tribes, the crow is seen as a trickster, a guide, and a mediator between the physical and spiritual worlds. In many stories, the crow is a shapeshifter, capable of moving between different forms and realms, symbolizing the fluid nature of existence. This duality is reflected in The Crow, where the bird's presence blurs the line between life and death, guiding Eric Draven on his journey from the grave. The crow's role as a mediator is particularly significant in Native American culture. In many tribes, the crow is seen as a messenger between the human and spiritual worlds, carrying the souls of the dead to the afterlife or bringing messages from the spirits to the living. In The crow's ability to navigate both worlds reflects the film's themes of resurrection and the eternal struggle between life and death. In addition to being a mediator, the crow is also seen as a trickster in Native American folklore. The trickster is a common figure in many Native American myths, often playing the role of a mischievous or cunning character who challenges the status quo and brings about change. The crow's association with the trickster figure highlights its role in challenging traditional boundaries and norms, much like the character of Eric Draven, who defies death and seeks justice in a world that has wronged him. This connection to the trickster archetype adds another layer of complexity to the symbolism of the crow in the film, reflecting the bird's ability to disrupt the natural order and bring about transformation. In these myths and traditions, the crow is not just a bird, but a powerful symbol that represents the intersection of life, death, and the spiritual realm. The presence of the crow in The Crow taps into these ancient beliefs, using the bird as a guide and a symbol of the complex relationship between life and death, fate and vengeance. As the film unfolds, the crow's role becomes increasingly central, reflecting the deep-seated human fear of death and the desire for justice that transcends the boundaries of the physical world. Across the globe, crows and ravens have been deeply entwined with folklore, their dark feathers and haunting cries often seen as omens of death and misfortune. These birds have become symbols of the mysterious forces that govern life and death, bridging the mortal world with the unknown. In Eastern European folklore, crows are often believed to be the souls of the damned, wandering the earth in search of redemption or vengeance. This belief is particularly strong in Slavic cultures, where crows are seen as harbingers of doom, their presence foretelling disaster or death. The Slavic myth of the Noknitsa, or night spirit, speaks of crows that carry the souls of those who died unrepentant or violently. These souls are cursed to roam the earth, unable to find peace, much like Eric Draven in The Crow, whose soul cannot rest until justice is served. In some Eastern European traditions, it is said that when a crow perches on the roof of a house, death is near. The bird's black feathers are thought to absorb the souls of the dead, preventing them from moving on to the afterlife. This belief ties into the idea that crows are mediators between the living and the dead, guiding the souls of the deceased to their final resting place, or keeping them bound to the earth if they have unfinished business. The presence of the crow in The Crow mirrors this role, as it guides Draven on his path of vengeance, ensuring that the wrongs of his past life are righted before he can find peace. Moving eastward in Japan and China, crows hold a slightly different but equally powerful symbolism. In Japanese folklore, the yatagarasu, a three-legged crow, is seen as a divine messenger from the gods, guiding heroes and emperors on their quests. This bird is not a mere harbinger of doom, but a symbol of divine intervention, a guide through the dark and uncertain paths of life. In the ancient chronicles of Japan, it is said that the yatagarasu appeared to lead Emperor Jimmu on his journey to unify the nation, a sign of the god's favour and a promise of success. The crow in The Crow serves a similar purpose, guiding Draven with an almost supernatural sense of direction, ensuring that he completes his mission of vengeance. In Chinese culture, crows are often associated with the sun and the heavens, seen as creatures that bridge the earth and the divine. The ancient Chinese believed that the sun was inhabited by a three-legged crow, and its movements across the sky were guided by this celestial bird. However, crows in Chinese folklore are also considered omens of misfortune, their calls believed to forewarn death or disaster. In Western traditions, crows and ravens have long been shrouded in superstition. One of the most enduring beliefs is that if a bird, particularly a crow, flies into a house, it is an omen of death. This superstition can be traced back to the medieval period, where it was thought that a bird's entry into a home meant that death was near, as the bird was believed to be a messenger from the other side. In addition to the belief that birds are messengers of death, Western superstitions also hold that crows and ravens are associated with witches and dark magic. In some traditions, it is said that witches can transform into crows or ravens to carry out their dark deeds, using these birds as their eyes and ears. The crow's connection to the supernatural is further reinforced by its association with battlefields, where crows were often seen feasting on the dead, earning them the reputation of death's companions. This connection between crows and death is vividly portrayed in The Crow, where the bird's presence is a constant reminder of the darkness that surrounds Draven's quest for justice. These global beliefs and superstitions highlight the deep and pervasive fear that crows and ravens evoke across cultures. Their presence in The Crow is not just a narrative device, but a reflection of the ancient and enduring power these birds hold over the human imagination. Whether seen as messengers from the gods, guides for the dead, or harbingers of doom, crows and ravens continue to inhabit the liminal space between life and death, their dark wings casting shadows that remind us of the mysteries that lie beyond the veil. Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven stands as one of the most haunting and iconic pieces of American literature, where the raven embodies the weight of sorrow and the permanence of memory. In the poem, the raven perches upon the bust of Pallas, the goddess of wisdom, casting a shadow over the grieving narrator who mourns the loss of his beloved Lenore. The raven's repeated utterance of nevermore becomes a grim refrain, each repetition deepening the narrator's despair and solidifying the bird's role as a symbol of eternal mourning. The raven, unyielding and ominous, reflects the relentless nature of grief, much like Eric Draven's haunting return to the world of the living in The Crow. Both the poem and the film explore themes of loss and the inability to escape the past, with the raven in Poe's work serving as a perpetual reminder of what has been lost, and Draven's crow guiding him through a world that refuses to let go of its ghosts. In the works of William Shakespeare, crows and ravens often appear as omens of death and harbingers of doom, their presence a dark foreshadowing of the violence and treachery to come. In Macbeth, for instance, the raven is associated with the arrival of ill fortune, its croak signalling the imminent betrayal and murder of King Duncan. Lady Macbeth herself invokes the raven's cry as she prepares to seize power through treachery, linking the bird to the deadly deeds that follow. Similarly, in Julius Caesar, crows are seen as an ill omen, gathering before the fateful assassination of Caesar. Shakespeare's use of these birds underscores the inevitability of death and the dark forces that shape human destiny, much like the presence of the crow in The Crow, where the bird becomes a symbol of the vengeful and inescapable justice that Eric Draven seeks. Contemporary literature continues to draw on the symbolism of crows and ravens to evoke themes of death, the supernatural, and the unknown. In Neil Gaiman's Sandman series, the character of Matthew, a raven, serves as a guide and companion in the dream realm, echoing the bird's traditional role as a mediator between life and death. Similarly, in Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, crows and ravens are used as symbols of impending doom and the presence of dark forces. These modern interpretations build on the rich literary tradition that associates these birds with death and the afterlife. Much like the Crow film continues to influence and inspire stories of revenge and redemption. The enduring presence of these symbols in literature reflects humanity's deep-rooted fascination with death and the mysteries that lie beyond, with the crow remaining a powerful and haunting figure in our collective imagination. The dark and mysterious presence of crows and ravens in film and television is no mere coincidence. It is a reflection of the profound psychological impact these birds have on the human psyche. From their roles as omens of death in ancient myths to their modern portrayals in stories like The Crow, these avian symbols tap into the deepest recesses of our minds where fear and fascination intertwine. As The Crow has shown, the presence of these birds can transform a narrative, imbuing it with a sense of the supernatural and the inevitability of fate. But what lies beneath this fascination? What ancient archetypes do these birds awaken within us? And how do they continue to shape our understanding of life, death, and the unknown? To answer these questions, we must delve into the shadowy realms of the human mind, where crows and ravens take flight as embodiments of the darker aspects of the soul. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, introduced the concept of archetypes, universal primordial images and symbols embedded deep within the collective unconscious. These archetypes manifest in myths, dreams, and art, influencing human behavior and thought across cultures. Among Jung's many archetypes, the shadow represents the darker, hidden aspects of the human psyche, those qualities that are repressed or denied but which inevitably surface. Birds, particularly crows and ravens, fit seamlessly into this archetype, embodying the mysteries of death, the unknown, and the darker side of human nature. The crow in The Crow serves as a potent symbol of this shadow archetype, guiding Eric Draven through his journey of vengeance and transformation. Draven's return from the dead is not just a physical resurrection, but a confrontation with his own shadow, his grief, anger, and need for justice, mirrored by the crow, which represents his darker impulses and the supernatural forces that drive him. The crow's connection to the shadow archetype is rooted in its association with death and the afterlife. Throughout history, crows and ravens have been seen as omens of doom, creatures of the night that feed on the dead, and symbols of the unknown. These associations evoke a primal fear rooted in the human psyche of what lies beyond the veil of death. Yet there is also a fascination with these birds, a recognition of their intelligence, their adaptability, and their role as messengers between worlds. This duality, the fear and the fascination, is central to the shadow archetype, which is both feared and revered. In The Crow, this duality is portrayed through Eric Draven's transformation from a man mourning the loss of his fiancée into a vengeful spirit driven by the darker aspects of his nature. The crow is his guide, his connection to the shadow, leading him through a path of violence and redemption. Humans have long been simultaneously terrified and captivated by symbols that evoke the shadow. Crows and ravens, with their dark plumage and eerie calls, embody this paradox. They are scavengers, associated with death and decay, yet they are also highly intelligent and social creatures, capable of complex problem-solving and communication. This blend of qualities makes them both unsettling and intriguing, much like the shadow archetype itself. In The Crow, this duality is portrayed through the film's gothic atmosphere, where beauty and brutality coexist. The crow, as Draven's constant companion, embodies this tension. Its presence is both a reminder of death and a beacon of the otherworldly power that fuels Draven's quest for vengeance. Even in an age dominated by science and reason, the symbolism of crows and ravens continues to hold sway over the human imagination. These birds have found their place in modern culture as symbols of death, mystery, and the supernatural, appearing in literature, film, and art as representations of the darker aspects of existence. The continued fascination with crows in stories like The Crow reflects a deep-seated need to explore the shadow, to confront the fears and desires that lie hidden within the psyche. This need is not diminished by advances in knowledge or technology. Rather, it is amplified as humans seek meaning in an increasingly complex and uncertain world. The crow, as a symbol of the shadow, remains a powerful reminder of the unknown forces that shape our lives and the mysteries that still elude our understanding. The lasting influence of the crow in popular culture is a testament to the enduring power of these symbols. The film's depiction of the crow as a guide through the darkest corners of the soul has resonated with audiences for decades, reflecting the universal struggle to reconcile the light and dark within. This struggle, rooted in the archetypal imagery of the crow and the shadow, continues to find expression in the stories we tell, the art we create, and the fears and fascinations that define the human experience. From ancient myths to modern tales, the crow remains a potent reminder of the thin veil between life and death. Its dark wings carry the weight of sorrow, the promise of justice, and the mysteries that continue to haunt us. Whether as a messenger of the beyond or a sign of impending doom, the crow's watchful presence endures, guiding us through the shadows and reminding us that some stories are never truly over. The crow, forever perched between worlds, remains a symbol of the unknown, a guardian of the secrets we may never fully understand.